So cool. Now the next thing that we're gonna do is parallel processing. So we're gonna be doing a lot of parallel processing. We're not gonna be adding the rest of our effects on this lead vocal. We're gonna be sending them to parallel channels. That's where we're gonna be, adding other effects. So the first send, we're gonna be sending we're gonna be doing some sidechain compression, pretty much just to add the body or the width and then the vocal. So I'm gonna send it to 4. Here's what we have here on 4, and let's see what we have on 4 here. I'm gonna turn this on. Boy, here's how it sounds like. So here I have Maximus on, and I have the mid-range frequency. So what I've done here on this routed signal, I've added Maximus, then I've come to the mid-range frequencies, and I increased the stereo, this knob here, the stereo separation by like 100%. So the mid-range frequencies that are being stereolized by this plugin on this second on this parallel signal. And then it's more like now adding a width to the main lead, and you gotta blend that in. That's why when you look at the level of this channel 4, it's very low. It's like -14. See? So after adding that Maximus, I also have a compressor, so with a high ratio. Okay, so let's continue. And yeah, so now we can add a compressor, a FET compressor, to our parallel signal that we're trying to compress, and then with a high ratio and high threshold. Obviously may not be too high, just check where your signal is hitting. You can do that with the dB meter. And then I have a makeup gain to 4, set to 4 dB, and then I have a parametric EQ. So we want the body only. We're trying to give the body, so we don't want to create again that boxiness or by having a lot of mid-range frequencies. So we only want those a bit of those high frequencies and just a bit of those mid-range and the low frequencies. That's why we have a kind of like a big dip on this parallel channel that's canceling out these other, almost like half of these other frequencies, because we're trying to balance. We just need a few, we just need a little bit of that to create this yep. So let's hear how this sounds like.
Boy, checking that time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease.
Cool, we're getting somewhere. So the next thing that we're gonna do is now route our third channel again to channel 5, where we have our delay effect. Now we're putting a delay effect. So first thing I have is a delay. That's the FET delay 2, and I have the time set to 4. I have the cutoff set to 86. It's cutting off a bit of like 20% of the high. It's like a high pass. It's like a low pass filter on it, and then everything is just set to normal as it should be. And then I have the dry to 0. So make sure you do this. I'm taking out all the dry because I don't want to duplicate the signal, right? Since I'm sending, I'm like routing that signal, so I'm taking away the dry and only leaving the wet signal output, because this is the delay pass. So I don't want the raw signal also coming out from this bus, from this channel. So let's hear how this sounds like. So I have a delay here, and then the next thing that's added is a FET Pan-O-Matic. So what this does is pretty much just pan the whatever signal is being sent here, or the effect, left to right. And then I have a limiter, a FET limiter on. And what this limiter is doing here is okay, so with this limiter I'm just using sidechain compression with the limiter. So I have when you look at here now, pay attention here. The point of me adding this limiter, when you observe here from my channel 1, I have from my channel 3, rather channel 2, yes, from channel 2. So I'm sending this signal directly to channel 3, but I'm not sending it, I'm not routing it to channel 5 here. I'm only sending a side chaining, side chaining it. So it's just sending a signal. It's not just sending information of the signal, not really the actual signal. Okay, so I don't know if you understand. It's just sending the information about the signal, but not the actual signal. So why is it sending this information about the signal here? Because I need that same information to trigger the Fruity limiter in sidechain compression. I have it in compression instead in limit mode. Here you have limit mode and here you have compression mode. So I have it in compression mode, and I have the sidechain set to port 1. Okay, here the sidechain is set to port 1. So now when the vocal comes in, the delay will be ducked down. So here's what's happening, if you can observe. So let me just turn this on, and then after that I have actually an EQ just to shape the overall delay. So when I turn this on, here's observe what's happening on the Fruity limiter.
Checking that time for the bass, the honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings, drummers around in the passion with ease.
When the vocal is playing, the lead vocal, it ducks the delay. So this is how you can make this effect actually.
Checking that time for the bass, the honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings, drummers around in the passion with ease. Boy, then go cold on your knees. Not many people to please. Stack it up, pack it up, run it up. I am the man with the deal. Word.
Cool. And then moving on to another channel here. So I also have this routed to our reverb on 6. It's routed to our reverb on 6, channel 6, and channel 6 we just have a simple reverb here. So here's how I set my reverb. I drop down the dry. Remember, we're always canceling out the dry. We don't need the dry signal, leaving the wet up. And then a bit of decay. I added a bit of decay, and then cut and the low end here up to this like 10k high cut, and then the low cut up to like 900 hertz somewhere there. Just creates a very better, more light reverb. And then I increase the size to max. I add a bit of delay so that my vocal doesn't really drown in the reverb. And I take this, I'm only adding a bit, so I also EQ the reverb. I always do that because reverb creates this after effect of a lot of frequencies, generates a lot of undesired frequencies, even especially in the low end. So that's why they say reverb can mess up your mix or it can improve your mix. You have to be very careful with how you use your reverb or how you set your reverb. So this is what's happening here. This EQ is only shaping the reverb and cleaning it up. So here's how it sounds like with the reverb turned on.
Checking that time for the bass, the honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings, drummers around in the passion with ease. Boy, then go cold on your knees. Not many people to please. Stack it up, pack it up, run it up. I am the man with the deal. Word, for real. Speak like you mean what you say.
At least we're getting somewhere. So without everything, here's how it sounds, and compare it to with everything so far.
Boy, checking that time for the bass, the honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings, drummers around in the passion with ease. Boy, then go cold on your knees. Not many people to please. Stack it up, pack it up, run it up. I am the man with the deal. Word, for real. Speak like you mean what you say.
Okay, so now what we have here is another simple chain for the backing vocals, or the ad-libs, whatever you may call them. They may be background vocals or ad-libs. This is what I do, or this is what I've done in this FLP for you guys. So I have pitcher first of all because I need it to be separately processed. When it comes to auto-tune, you can't send two signals to the same auto-tune, two different signals to the same auto-tune playing at the same time. It won't just work. So so in this channel, actually, this is where I'll be sending my background vocals or ad-libs, and they'll be sent back to the main processing channel. So here they're just being affected the way I want them to sound as background vocals. So we have pitcher on first, and I have the auto-tune set to the tuning set to the scale set to A major. Okay, it's just what sounds best with the ad-libs. Don't ask me why the key is different for my ad-libs with the lead vocal. It happens that way sometimes. You gotta, maybe your ad-libs might not be hitting in the right key with your lead. Then I also have a Fruity stereo shaper, and it's set to like 2.8 milliseconds, and I have it also 40% dephasing. Actually, it will be dephasing 40%, something like that. And I have the flanger on. Okay, so I didn't change a lot of the settings on the flanger, I just added it. But you can also do, you can play around these knobs and see how it affects your signal. So I have a reverb also, just a bit of reverb to make it a bit more mellow. And then finally I have a Fruity parametric EQ, which is shaping the sound actually at the overall sound at the end. So now let's see how this sounds like without. Sounds boring, obviously.
Boy, checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease.
But when I turn this on now, hear how this sounds.
Boy, checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease. Boy, don't go caught on your knees. Not many people to please. Stack it up, pocket up, run it up. I am the man with the deal. Word, for real. Speak like you mean what you say. Turn it up if they don't hear you. But I ain't no staying away. Word, for real. Speak like you mean what you say. Turn it up if they don't hear you. But I ain't no staying away.
Yeah.
Boy, checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease. Boy, don't go caught on your knees. Not many people to please. Stack it up, pocket up, run it up. I am the man with the deal.
So this is what's happening. And on the master channel, I only have an EQ that's cancelling out those the excess low end and the excess high end. And secondly, I have a Fruity compressor that's just bringing the level up with about 2.5 gain and 1:2:1 ratio. And next I have the transient processor, just controlling those peaks.
Boy, checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers.
And then I have a Fruity soft clipper to glue everything together. The threshold is pretty much low. I didn't add the post gain a lot, and I didn't want it doing a lot because the beat is too high already. And then we have Maximus. Maximus is just adding the stereo width by adding a bit of stereo to the mid frequencies with this knob here. Stereo separation has been set to 25. And then I'm also adding a bit of the gain in each of these plugins. I'm adding a bit of makeup gain, like 1 dB or 2 dB in each, 1 dB or half a dB actually in each of the plugins. But overall you find out that you've added about like 4 dB 5 dB of volume, of gain collectively, and overall the sound will just be more louder, but without stressing one plugin or the limiter, without stressing the limiter. So after Maximus, I have now the limiter. The ceiling is set to negative 0.5 dB, and then the gain is about 2.5.
So checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease.
Without the mastering chain, here's how it sounds like.
Boy, checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys.
With
Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease. Boy, then go cold on your knees. Not many people to please. Stack it up, pack it up, run it up. I am the man with the deal. Word, real. Speak like you mean what you say. Turn it up, boy. Checking out time for the bass. The honey is dripping on keys. Time for the lyrical kings. Drummers are running the passion with ease. Boy, then go cold on your knees. Not many people to please.
cool. So yeah, this is pretty much how you can, record and edit your vocals in FL Studio by using stock plugins only. So if you have watched up to this far, thank you very much for tuning in and for supporting the channel. Make sure to leave a like or subscribe.